Call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please, everyone stand. Almost forgot how to do it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. If we could have a moment of silent prayer, please. Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody, to our regular meeting for January 17th. I'm going to start with roll call. I'll be starting today, so I'm here. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Mike Thieben?
Here.
I don't believe there's any public comment. So that being said, I'll move on. Administrative business, Mark? Go ahead, Mike.
And this is for Mark and for conversation. Could we have a update on how the 2023 fiscal year budget, the carryovers and how that budget concluded? Could we just have, like in next week or the following week, just to kind of review where we're at?
Sure. Okay. Doug, you have anything?
No, sir.
Okay. That being said, we'll move on. Mark, you didn't have anything you said, right? Okay. Need a consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on it, folks? Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Formal board action. Consider a motion to approve a water line relocation agreement with Rural Water District Number 9 regarding the Tonganoxie Road Improvement Project.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Commissioners, through discussions, a revised agreement was submitted back to Rural Water District Number 9 with respect to the relocation of certain facilities to allow the Tongi Road Safety Improvement Project to proceed. We received back this morning an executed copy of the agreement that contains those proposed changes. So your amendments were accepted by Rural Water District Number 9. I'm not certain if the board wishes to proceed with it this morning or at a later date, but it would require a majority of the quorum to approve this agreement. This would facilitate moving forward with this project. It is time sensitive. And again, Rural Water District Number 9 has been very cooperative and accepted the amendments that we proposed.
So a majority of the quorum or a majority of the board?
I think a majority of the
So you need two votes.
Two votes.
Two votes.
Okay. David, just for clarification for people who are watching like that, and the things they accepted were?
They were basically a fixed deadline to when Rural Water District Number 9 has agreed they would work to the fullest extent possible to have their facilities relocated out of the work area by June 1 so that the project construction phase could be entered into. And secondly, language with respect to the resolution of any cost disputes.
Okay.
They also provided an updated, revised estimate for the cost of the project. There was a slight increase, approximately 10%, which is not unanticipated.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'd like to move that we approve the water line relocation agreement with Rural Water District Number 9 as modified for the Tonganoxie Road Improvement Project.
I'll second it, and I certainly don't want to lose this project. So this put us in a bad position to keep going forward on some of this, so that's why I'm seconding it. So any more discussion on it, Doug? I'll start the roll call. Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll effect the execution of that agreement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item B, consider a motion to approve an agreement for KDOT high-risk rural roads grant for the project awarded north of Stranger Creek on Tonganoxie Road. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today for your consideration is a KDOT agreement for the high-risk rural roads grant, 4201 for the grant project awarded north of Stranger Creek on Tonganoxie Road. Unlike most KDOT HRRR projects in the past, if you're familiar with them, normally this agreement is executed prior to the commencement of the preliminary engineering contract. KDOT legal is way behind, and they have switched their process to where preliminary engineering is not initially eligible for reimbursement. They have stated on multiple occasions on all of our grants that they have switched this process on, that if we follow the KDOT process, that it is likely or possible that in the future we will be reimbursed for the design costs. That said, we do have SMH already working on the design of the project. So the surveying topo for the project is complete and it is in design already. It's a 90-10 KDOT project, which is different. They articulate in this agreement a different type of arrangement where it says that KDOT will pay for 90% of this project if the cost estimate changes by 10% or more through the design. That we have to notify them, and they have to decide whether or not they are going to accept those changes, but it does not give a finite funding amount. The original project was $1.4 million, but that was submitted using 2022 numbers, and so it probably is at least 10 or 15% higher than that, if not more. And I think they've changed that language so they don't have to execute new agreements all across the state that have resulted in inflation. So this allows them to cover 90% of the total construction costs if they have the funding available without entering into a new agreement. I think it's a good thing for the counties.
So will we be able to bid these projects together?
That is the goal, is to bid these projects together in November of 2024. Currently, that is what KDOT has stated they would like to do, but obviously, since it is led by KDOT, we can't necessarily dictate that occurring. We'd like to see one contractor, one inspector, and have this be part of one project and one road closure. And so that is the county's goal, and that's what we have told KDOT, and KDOT has agreed to it, but SMH has to get the design complete on time, which they are on schedule currently. We have to get through land acquisition on time, which has not started, but we are still on schedule for that. And then any condemnation cases, and I believe that we are in a better situation with the utilities on this project. I don't think we'll have nearly the water line conflicts.
It's a different water district,
And
Water District 8s.
So
Yeah, that's right.
we are hopeful to stay on schedule with this project in order to be able to send them both out the door at the same time.
And that's the Water District allowed the project on Eisenhower to be a turnkey and not be involved with it.
And I've dealt with them before, a lot easier than a lot of the others, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I would say right now the critical path items are completion of design and right-of-way acquisition.
This project was basically promised to the voters in the 2006 sales tax. It was going to be Tonganoxie Road from Tonganoxie to Leavenworth.
Yep.
And it didn't get done. So
It is now.
I'd like to, but it's pieces at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, so maybe in 20 years we'll be able to fulfill the promises that was made in 2006.
We're starting
Wasn't
in the
our
right
promises.
I know. At least we're starting in the right direction.
We're in the right direction. So with that being said, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agreement for KDOT High-Risk Rural Roads grant for the project awarded north of Stranger Creek on Tonganoxie Road.
Second.
Motion is second. Any more discussion? I'll start with aye.
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 Passes. Okay, thank you. All right. Item C, consider a motion to approve a contract with Finney and Turnspeed for preliminary engineering design for replacement of bridges SH-54 and SH-61 on Golden Road as part of the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program grant in the amount of $142,870.
Commissioners, today for your consideration, we do have the contract. Finney and Turnipseed was approved by the Board of County Commissioners to complete the preliminary design work for SH 54 and SH 61 on Golden Road. This is part of the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program grant. That grant is a reimbursement grant, so the full cost of these two bridge replacements will be paid out of the 220 fund or the bridge fund for the county, and then we will be reimbursed $2 million, which, based on estimates, is 80% of the cost. If that cost changes, we can request for additional funding from KDOT. The preliminary engineering, like I said in the previous project, is not included in the initial reimbursement of the project. Construction engineering, in this case, is. We are hopeful. We did follow the KDOT process, and if there is funding available, we will submit for reimbursement of these fees as well. I think that the issue that KDOT was having is they were awarding grants to different communities, from what they've told me, and those communities were not moving through the process, and we're turning the projects back in and losing funding for them. And they had already paid for the preliminary engineering. So they have switched their process to ensure that the initial out-of-pocket cost is that of the local community, and that if they follow the correct process, it is eligible for reimbursement in the future. So these are two important bridges on Golden Road, and this is the first round of this new program for bridge replacements. This road is not eligible for other fundings that have been approved in the past.
Well, thank you, communities for not taking the grant, because once you don't take grants, when you go after it, it's a hard time to go back down the line and receive that. So I'm fine with this. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we approve a contract with Finney and Turnip Seed for preliminary engineering design for replacement of bridges SH 54 and SH 61 on Golden Road as part of the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program grant in the amount of $142,870.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
This one of them all steel bridges. It's got the sheet pile in and they put asphalt over, or is this all the concrete ones?
No, we're going to use concrete bridge design on
No, on the one of these that we're replacing is a steel.
Yeah,
all steel. We built it in the early 80s.
Yeah,
The county built it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them is a county constructed bridge.
Right.
I believe that the crews that you were.
I helped work on that, and the bridges I've been here longer than the bridge now. So it's time for me to go.
I think they had to build it out of used steel.
When a bridge is wore out before I am, it's time for me to go. But we did use some used steel, though.
It was used steel.
Right. We did use.
Anything else?
We were recycling before it was cool.
Cool.
But
Think of a song like that.
That's all right.
And this improvement was part of the effort that you made visiting with the Secretary of Transportation and going through the process and sort of the county being impacted by the Panasonic plant.
Yes, these bridges are rated in poor condition, and we met with the Secretary of Transportation and really tried to put forth our case for the need for funding and the replacement of these bridges. They will be bid as a single bid package. Hopefully we'll have one contractor and be done simultaneously, so that way we can reduce the closure because these bridges will be constructed. They have to be under contract by August of 2025. And so hopefully we will be actually in construction in March of 2025 would be ideal, and then completed by fall.
And this is an example of, we've been going to these collaboration meetings about this Panasonic plant, and there's a lot of resources that have been dedicated to Johnson County and Douglas County, but our county is going to be impacted by this.
Yeah.
And infrastructure improvements are something we're going to have to continue to push for.
Yep.
Because you need a good road to get to the good bridge.
That's right, and we're going to be building a lot of residential housing to benefit the folks that are moving in.
Yep, sure is. Any other comments?
No, sir.
All right, got a motion and a second. I'll start roll call. Aye.
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 Passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
We're going to go move, it's all right with the commissioners, we're going to move executive session to after the quarterly reports, and we'll start with human resources. Good morning.
Morning, Monica.
We spoke last quarter about starting to track metrics so that we have some things that we can see how we're doing over time. For this last year, I was able to compile all of our headcount data, so you can see that we have an average of 435 employees for the entire year and have it broke down by quarter. We hired 103 employees last year. We had 101 departures for a turnover rate of 23.2% and an average tenure of 7.6 years. Two of the things we spoke about last quarter were exit interview and departure reasons. So that is something that will be on the metrics next time, as well as workers' comp injuries by type.
Just real quick, Commissioners, a clarification. We use the term terminations for people who quit or are terminated. So those aren't all people who were terminated. Most of those are people who have retired.
They're just no longer with us.
Or gave it 2 weeks and went somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want people to look at that and say, oh my gosh, they fire a lot of people. Those are mainly just natural.
We should term it as training. They completed their training program here and went on to another job.
So we'll be able to, I'll have more reasons behind that next time so you can see on those departures the reasons.
How does that 23.2% compare to other governing bodies and local governments?
I honestly don't know that. Compared to the last places I worked in, public areas, we are very low. Our turnover is low.
To me, it sounds like high, but
compared to governing bodies, so I don't know. I could do some research on that on our counterparts.
It was a big enough concern. It was one of the topics when we were in Wichita about turnover on government entities. So.
Yeah, it was Mike and I.
If you don't mind checking it out.
Some of the ongoing activities that we're currently working on, we did complete the 2024 step plan and COLA increases. They were on yesterday effective. We're continuing to convert all of our employee files over to electronic documents. That's an ongoing process that's taking time. We did, for our fun activity, we had our countywide chili cook-off in November, so that went over really well. The employees are looking forward to that every year.
Yes.
We did implement harassment, diversity, and inclusion training for all new hires starting October 1st forward, so that is a part of our program now. And then it is time for us to do that countywide for all of our staff as well, so that will be coming up this year.
Did we not have some sort of a training on that prior to that date, or was that by department? Or
I think it was mentioned in orientation, but there wasn't really any type of video or training or talk about where they had to sign off on. So that is actually official now.
That's good.
We've had it in the past.
Yeah.
Before we would do the trainings, it would be like a countywide, but then the new hires had to wait. So
They did.
This is something we've implemented that's new, that's really a good program.
Continuing to touch base with all of our vendors, building relationships with BOCC, Aetna, Reliance, Guardian, just as we're working in our new benefit year and resolving any issues that come up. Along the lines of we were talking about metrics, I'm dissecting the 2023 work-related injuries by type, area, department, and severity so that we can have information and be able to decide where we need to focus on our safety-related trainings this year and preventative measures. And then we're also working with Paylocity to write code and continue to evolve our system since that's a new area that we're in. Some of our future goals this year, Mark and I will be working to implement a wellness committee, so that will be one of our initiatives this year is to focus more on wellness and education across the county. Working with each department to identify specific training goals and areas. We'll be planning the biannual harassment, diversity, and inclusion training, so we just spoke about that. It's time for that to be countywide as well. And then it is time, I believe, for me to create and distribute injury reporting procedures and do a refresher training for our departments just to make sure everyone knows how to report, when to report, make sure that all of that education is on track.
These are all top goals, wellness committee and reporting procedures, because that can really get lost. I'm sure, Doug, you've working with the county or I work for the city. If you don't follow it, you can get yourself into trouble. So I think that's very important. Wellness committee, I think, has always worked well because that kind of puts pressure on that department or that elected thing to probably do some more things than we're doing right now. So I think that impressed what you're doing. I think these are excellent goals for 2024.
Last year we was able to add an additional benefit on the disability insurance. Does we have anything that we're looking at to be able to provide extra benefits for employees this year?
Good question.
I don't know that we've actually started to talk about that yet since we just implemented the new benefit year, but
Right.
We definitely need to.
It just seems like it's easier for us to give an additional benefit than it is larger raises, it seems
Sure.
like. And, like I said, I don't know, did you sit through that down at Wichita?
Which one?
When they're talking about retaining employees.
Not sure I was in that.
No, I don't know. It's a big, but anyways, my comment was get rid of Tier 3 in the Kansas retirement system and go back the way it was.
Boy, did they mess that up. They did that.
But I just didn't know if there was something else we could be offering, because, for years, previous commissions always tried to balance the budget on the back of employees.
Yeah.
It's changed. We've got to take care of our employees.
Commissioners, excellent point, and I know that the Board of County Commissioners, for at least the time that I've been here, the last 7 years or so, have been very supportive of staff. We're very appreciative of that, and have really put the focus on not just recruitment but retention.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the policies we've passed over the last 5-6 years are just really good benefits. What you're talking about, the short-term disability benefit that we now offer. This great thing, and each year we try to evaluate. Not every year we can't afford something every year, but in the years that we can, we try to look at, and that's something that I think this wellness committee is going to be crucial in. What are some things we can do to not just incentivize employees to take care of themselves, but also be an enhanced benefit? So I think that'll come from that, but typically we do that as part of our renewals or part of the budget process if there's going to be a cost to the county. I know we've been discussing for several years, maybe especially because of Tier 3, like you brought up, that maybe an enhancement to some type of a retirement where we might match funds with employees or something like that. We've discussed that in the past. It's just so far we haven't been able to fit it within our budget, but I think for me that's one of the things I would like to see the county do for all of our employees is offer some kind of a match so that help them contribute towards their own retirement. But we're working on it and appreciate your support on those things.
On the one thing too that I'm sure you do it already, but when you go out and we go and get our health programs and things like that, they always compete. Do you see that any of them that we've gone out and bid for, we've talked to, are starting to offer anything more at no cost, or something that, like Commissioner Smith was saying, that would assist our employees but not break the bank?
That's where this wellness is coming in. That's an offering from Aetna this year that we're going to take what Mark and I had already wanted to do, and they have a few benefits and resources that we can utilize
Good.
and build in that, hopefully just to create that culture where we start to people more enjoyable. I do know that just looking at some of our benefits that we do have, we are pretty rich compared to the area. So our time off benefits and holidays and the resources that we do add, especially with the company paid disability that we just offered. So we are competing pretty well in what we offer.
It just looks like a large turnover is all.
That's what I was going to. So if you're saying that, and I know you don't have it on sheet, what is the reason for turnover? Is it pay, or is it benefits, or is it working conditions? Do you have any idea right now what you see it?
Right now we've had a large number retire. So
that's a good thing.
It is.
That's a good thing.
It is,
Okay.
and that's why we have good tenure. That is one of the metrics I'll have more as we finish getting all of the information into Paylocity from that turnover from Paycom. I'll have all of the numbers of those 101 people that left this last year. I'll be able to tell you why.
Break it out. Good. Thank you.
So are we doing exit interviews now?
Not formally, but yes. We're starting to dig more into reasons why. And most of the time we do know why someone's leaving because it's discussed prior to, or it's the county's decision. So there's a lot of information already behind that. But If somebody just says I'm leaving for personal reasons, we've started to ask a few more questions if there's anything that's going on that we need to know about or something that would maybe.
I think exit interviews are a really good.
I do
good
too.
thing.
I used to do them out the shop.
I
We
think-
didn't have the turnover back then. I mean, the world's changed.
Honestly, I think exit interviews should be mandatory for them to sit down with you or a department or whatever, so you can document that. Some of them won't do it, there's no doubt, and some of them, this is their one chance to let us know and help the employees that are still here. So I think that, honestly, I just think that's something that probably should be on the box that you check off.
And your percentages here include all departments of the county, correct?
They do, yes.
So is there is there individual departments like that are heavier on the turnover? Like,
I'm sure there is. When I start to break it down, would you like to see it?
We'll be
by
able to see.
department
Yeah,
as well?
okay.
Mhm.
I had a couple questions on your office's interaction with elected officials.
Yes.
How does that? I mean, you're the human resources officer for the county. Are all the departments? What is the interaction like with the other elected officials? Because some of them have their own internal processes.
Honestly, I would say that I'm in regular communication with everyone weekly. We talk openly. I have been very pleased that every department seems to come to me and want to discuss things before any separations are made or new hire decisions are made. We've had a really great partnership, and I don't feel like anything's been done without that partnership.
Okay, so we have, for instance, a 4% salary increase that comes to all of the county employees. And then we have departments of the county that then give increases above and beyond that. So we have, therefore, some county employees getting higher raises than other employees. And that's because that's done by the elected officials. When we're talking about that, that seems to kind of create an inequity for other employees of the county. How can we make that more objective? Or is there a way we can do that? Or do we have, is it just totally discretionary on the elected officials? Or do you have an opinion on that?
Commissioners, I'll weigh in on that because I don't think it's probably Monica's place to discuss the elected officials and how they manage their departments. There's a lot of discretion for the elected department heads. They do occasionally submit changes outside the pay plan. At least one of the departments has its own pay plan, so those may be administered different than the county pay plan. But typically, if they have a mid-year change that wasn't part of the budget and they can demonstrate that they've got the budget for it, there's not a lot that at this level or even at your level that we can do. However, if it looks like it's going to impact their budget, not just this year, but going forward, then we can make them come in and talk to the board about budget amendments because obviously they still have a budget they have to stay within. But that's typically how that's handled.
And just to be clear, when we say occasionally, we're talking in terms of the budget, thousands of dollars.
Well, it could be. I mean, not on each individual change can add up quickly. So if you're changing 10 to 15 employees at a time, sure, it could be $50,000, $60,000. Could be a couple $100,000 if you have a bigger department. You're changing even more. I don't want to make it sound like that every elected department head is running is doing that though. So I just want to be clear that it happens occasionally. It's not.
It's just
it's not every department.
The issue I have. I don't have an issue with it if it's needed to retain people, but I just wonder how objective it is. Because if you're making these decisions, it should be done on an objective basis or have a reasonable basis. And so we end up having lots of employees are getting a 4% raise, but then we have other employees getting a much higher raise. And that the question for me, and I know because of the way this is set up, we don't have total control over this, but what's the equity of that? And I think that the public should know that occurs, because just because we say we're giving a 4% raise, we might have employees of the county getting a much higher raise than that.
Yeah, it's true. It's a true statement. Okay. Anything else?
And I'm sure some of it's a reclassification.
Oh, I'm sure that's right.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Good job. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, Council on Aging, come on down, Connie. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. This report ends a 3-year strategic plan cycle for the Council on Aging. It's hard to believe I've been here 3 years, but it's true.
Time flies.
Seems like 10?
It does. Time flies. So we hit some milestones this year. We delivered over 100,000 meals for the first time in a fiscal year. Actually, 105,000 meals. We had, at any given time, over 1,500 people on that program. So that was about a 9% increase overall for this year. And then we opened 2 different congregate sites, changed some things that we've been doing for many years, and have a new site in Tonganoxie and a new site in Basel that we're seeing tremendous growth out of both of those congregate sites. So that program is moving along. Likewise with transportation, again, high numbers there, over 15,000, almost 16,000 rides. We continue our partnership with the Deeper Window Association and delivered almost 800 transportation units for that group as well. Added 141 new clients to our program, so that these numbers just reflect the aging population in this county is growing. Aging into services that the Council on Aging offers. But likewise, volunteerism is at an all-time high. We had 181 people who are active volunteers for us last year, saving the county an estimated $74,000 in what they offer. About 18 of our meal routes are served by volunteers, and we couldn't do what we do with that program without those folks helping us out every day. We also brought in 104% of the expected revenue that we budgeted for this year, so you'll see that impact here in a minute as we get a little farther down the report, but everything just is growing. So our leisure and learning program, we added 110 new participants. One of the things that I was charged with when I came on board was increasing the number of people who are 50 to 69, really expanding access over at the Council on Aging. So 33 of those 110 were in that age bracket, and I think that's mostly for those bucket list adventure trips we're taking. We're taking a group tubing at Snow Creek on Saturday. We've got some folks who are just wanting to do some different things. We went kayaking, we went horseback riding, zip lining, those kinds of things. So we were on the radio, NPR, Kansas City NPR, and they did a podcast about that program, and we took a couple of participants with us and really got some traction. I had over 40 applicants for the assistant director position that's open at the Council on Aging, and several heard that and talked about it during their interviews, which was nice to know that outside of Leavenworth County, people are wondering what they're doing, and I'm getting calls from other senior centers to say, what in the world are you doing, and how can we also do that? So that's been kind of fun. Our PALS program is our pet program. It is funded with grants and donations. We're serving over 200 pets, 239 pets, giving them vet care, feeding them. So that is another program that's grown, but grant-wise, we brought in 115,000 plus in grants this year, plus an additional 88,000 with fundraising efforts, and I've listed those out for you, which helps offset the growing costs for the meals program for sure. We continue to partner with area businesses and working across the community with businesses, churches, other nonprofits to make sure that we're not doubling efforts, but really being there to support other services that are being offered throughout the country or the county. And then our heart-to-heart transportation program that we use is also grant funded, and that transports folks to see folks in nursing homes outside of the county. We started with 12 trips in 2021. We did 103 trips this year. So bringing folks together, trying to combat isolation, and help people just live a better life.
Vehicles is okay? Everything's doing all right with vehicles?
Fantastic. We were out yesterday delivering Meals on Wheels, although the schools were closed, and a number of folks stopped by my office to tell me that those get around. So they were happy about that. No complaints. The new parking lot.
Not having any trouble getting vehicles?
No. Our fleet has lift, so we're good for a while. The new parking lot is outstanding, and we love that. It's a secure. We have all of our catalytic converters behind that locked fence every day, and so we're happy about that.
It's hard to believe it's been 3 years since the room was full of people thinking that we were closing Council on Aging.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
we are.
quite a meeting.
That was quite a meeting.
I'm sorry.
And it was news to us. It was news to us.
And we're going just the opposite.
Yes.
I think it'd be a good idea if you went on that zip line trip.
Oh, yeah, okay. I saw them smiling at me up here, looking at me, the people in the audience. We're not going to do that.
No, I figured you'd
Oh, come
do
on.
just fine.
I'm going snow tubing on Saturday. My husband qualifies too, so he's going as well.
Yeah. EMS standby. Mike?
Your grant funding for your transportation, you said it's grant. You have a lot of grant funding. Is that reoccurring grant funding? You can apply every year and maintain that funding?
Yes. Unfortunately, our KDOT transportation, we're not able to get operational costs for our fleet because it's leased. You must own vehicles for KDOT funding. We received a little bit of funding last year, $7,000.
That's their policy.
That is their policy.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to either purchase vehicles with that KDOT funding, but they won't support a lease.
Is that a federal policy or is that a state?
That's a state policy.
Just a state. Well, that's something could change.
It's not the first time we've turned down KDOT funding for vehicles for Council on Aging. There's another list of things that go along with that.
You have to follow,
So my final question is for the folks going out to Snow Creek. Did you order the little pads for the sleds?
Commercial.
That's where that came from.
I've seen that, Mike.
That is inspired. That trip was inspired by that Amazon commercial. Folks like, I want to do that one more time. So of course we said, yeah we could arrange that. So.
I'd hit a tree.
Okay. Weather better than I do.
Just bones are a little more brittle at older age.
They signed a waiver, so we're all good. But there's still stuff they want to mark off a list. So.
Good. I hope you enjoy that.
I just want to say that I've had the opportunity to work with Meals on Wheels programs in other counties just for family members and whatnot. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that our Council on Aging is probably the top one in the state. The services that they offer, what the staff do, what the commission has done with funding with the Council on Aging, the expansion that we've made in the last 3 years under Connie's direction, just amazing. And I know that eventually we all are old enough to participate and qualify. I already am, but
I'm way past that.
yeah. Oh, well, then I'm not. Sorry.
Not quite, yeah.
I can't. Yeah, not quite. But
The
anyways.
majority of us in the room are.
So just saying that it's a great program. And I know when we're looking at tight budgets, we have to look at everything. But over the last 7 years, and specifically over the last 5 years, this commission is really committed to the aging community in this county. And I think if you go back and look at the budget, the staff, the equipment, the vehicles that you're talking about, I know, Doug, when you came on the commission, there were vans that you could see outside when you were sitting on the inside,
Right.
not
The floors
through the
were rusted
windows.
out.
The floors were rusted out. So
I remember seeing those going road.
Back then, we made the challenge of if we're going to have programs, we need to adequately fund them we can't continue to just let them run on a shoestring because we're putting more money into maintenance than we were into buying vehicles.
And they're
So-
unsafe.
But just, again, another thing, opportunity to say thank you to Connie and her staff for the amazing job they do, but also thank you to the commission continuing to support such a wonderful program.
I think, Connie, since you came aboard, I think we came about at the same time. I've seen such a change. You know, when you get things like this, county commissioners will get the funding in there if they can find him. But this goes to the supervisors and the people in that building that are making this happen, because you don't get these kind of numbers if you're not running a great program. So I know we keep telling you that. We've got some excellent employees in the audience, but I am really surprised. I've always felt that a lot of things we spend money on or funding on, but if you can spend it to help somebody or make somebody's lives better, that's probably one of the best things for tax dollars as far as I'm concerned. So I'm glad that you're so successful, and hats off to Mark and Commissioner Stephen and Smith for continuing to help this thing go forward, because I'm very pleased with this program. And you keep asking me to judge a Halloween contest. I love doing
I
that.
will, every year.
Okay.
Every year. And just one more thing. Scarlett Ross is retiring on February 9th, 28 and a half years of service. She'll be one of those turnover numbers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But a storied career. Started as the director's secretary and is now assistant director. So if you have some time that day, come out and see us on the 9th from 11 to 2, and we'll have some food. Of course, it's Council on Aging, and some entertainment as well.
So
Sounds
Commissioner
great.
Cause and I will be in out of town that day, but
I'll be
but
there.
you guys
I'll
can
be
get
there.
I'll make up for it.
So, but best our regrets to that.
Okay.
I also just would like to say, when we're talking about your budget, I've been on the commission for 5 years, and it's been a very fortunate 5 years, because every year the valuations in the county have gone up, and every year we've been able to, you know, if we'd have been in a different economic climate, it'd be harder to fund these things, and we've been able to maintain this funding, and I just express thank you to the taxpayer, you know.
So appreciated.
Yep. All right. Thank you. Okay, building grounds, Aaron. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Morning, Aaron.
So quarterly report. First item, we have a tree limb that came off on the southeast corner. Our loader is down right now. We will be working to get that out of the way up there. We've had various snow removal. Community Corrections wants to open their space down in the basement. We'll be working in 24 towards that. Had a meeting out at the transfer station with Tammy and Jimmy on some improvements that they look to make, getting pricing for them on either concrete aprons to the side of their entrance or asphalt working its way around. It depends on her funding on how that'll move forward. The EMS, Health Department grants, we've completed the painting. The interior flooring is underway, and then that area of those three projects, from the parking lot replacement and interior painting and flooring, will be complete, and it will have pretty much a facelift out there. The Cushing parking lot is completed except for the buffalo sod. The buffalo sod is a 2-year grow process, and they were not able to have it in on this year. It will be installed next spring, and that will complete that project 100%. All of our reimbursements have been sent and received from the state as we move through that project. The downstairs, we have worked with Ms. Klasinski on her storage area for all of her voting machines down there. One of the large things is they want to secure elections, so all of the storage areas that are accessed by hers are now under fobs, as well as cameras, so that it catches people entering and who entered, swiping, so that all of her machines are secured. The Justice Center, we've had some issues over the last week with the temperatures, but we've conquered those hurdles. We've had some issues at Cushing. We've had some issues at EMS South and Station 3 this morning. Ginger Creek and the sewer districts, we had both pumps go down over Christmas. we have replaced the vacuums on those and got those up and running. Had a few grinder pumps out at Highcrest, and then working with planning and zoning on a large undeveloped area in one of our former sewer districts, Sewer District 3, that would hopefully expedite the process of paying off that loan.
You said the transfer station was either going to be asphalt or concrete.
Tammy has requested, she has a list of projects that she wants to start forecasting for improvements out there, and the first thing I need to do is start getting her pricing on it. Public Works was out there as well. They recommended a lot of hers go to concrete, especially on the drive areas. But the parking lot that is the employee parking could be done in asphalt. The areas off to the left as you enter the building that are the recycling areas could be done in asphalt. Looking at ways of maximizing her money as she moves forward, sir.
Well, like I said, the heavy truck traffic probably needs to be concrete, I think, my opinion.
Understood, sir.
Because we cut the corners out there before and need to quit that.
We have diligently not since I started things out there, sir.
And no more catastrophic failures.
The last 48 hours have been interesting, but
Okay.
we're surviving, sir.
Okay.
Mike?
On all of these buildings, do you, in the next 5 years, foresee any large capital investments that are going to have to be made that we don't know about at this point?
Your Justice Center, we have previously talked about the boilers on their aging and end of life on that. The Circle Drive at the Justice Center is in need of replace. I've talked to the sheriff on some ideas that he would like to institute in getting rid of the center island out there and putting a regular drain and then having them change the flow of entry. But currently out there we have some really bad concrete areas due to the fact that ice melt eats concrete, and it's been 20 plus years of eating concrete out there, and we'll be working towards that. Sooner or later, we'll have to work on our parking lots and then work with the city on our parking lot down at the north end of the building, as that is actually a road. Your parking lot at EMS Station 2 in Tonganoxie, we definitely need to look at replacing that. Some large ticket items in the next year, 3-5 year plan, yes, sir. But working with County Admin, forecasting those and giving him up-to-date estimates on that, and then projecting it out in capital is something that we do, and then make sure that he is aware of it as well as you guys.
Are we okay on the roofs of all the facilities?
Your roofs age every year. Currently, you have some portions over at Cushing that were in the 3-year when I had the evaluation done on that. Your Justice Center roof, we have put money away ever since we had to use improvements that was before me on replacing that roof. Sooner or later, every roof will have to be replaced. Like currently, I've had a roofing contractor through doing repairs on this roof. We had a leak in the upper glass aquarium cover over there, and they've since repaired that. Just patching and maintaining currently, but right now we're not foreseeing any catastrophic failures on a roof that would cause us to have to replace one within the next 2 to 3 years at least, for sure.
But the
So,
justice, go ahead.
Mark, we made adjustments in his budget. As far as the CIP that we're talking about, are we still on track for these projects, or are we underfunded
Oh, we're underfunded.
by
For sure,
X amount?
100%, because we took on a building, that's over 100 years old, but portions of it. But yeah, the goal is not to fix everything at once. We're trying to string it along as far as we can while we build up our reserves. Sometimes we have to use money that we set aside for one project on another project, and then put money back into those. I couldn't tell you the dollar amount of delayed maintenance, but it's significant, and it's just we do each year we ask for a little more to try to get towards it. And when Aaron did his budget for the Cushing specifically, he had asked for quite a bit more money to be set aside for these types of things. and we had to reduce it in order to get down to the level that the Board of Commissioners could approve the budget. So I think I brought that up maybe last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about some of this money that came in.
Right.
It'd be a good idea to try to put some of that back over into his capital improvement program, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but it seems for Aaron and his staff, every holiday since Christmas, which there's been 3, they've come in on some type of failure.
Usually sewer districts, it's every holiday.
It's
something fails.
Some type of failure over the last 3 holidays. So Christmas, New Year's, Martin Luther King, those weekends. He's been in. Aaron has been in on all of those days working, and his crew. So
Thank you.
Other duties as assigned. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
But aren't the current Justice Center roof, it's on an amortization schedule, right?
Yes.
So we're not going to have any surprises there.
You should not, sir,
And
unless we see skyrocketing prices.
Well,
unless as long as it lasts for its
The time it's supposed
forecasted
to, yeah.
right. And then
lifespan.
you said the boilers, are they on an amortization schedule?
I don't believe they were to start off with. When I came in, I had worked with Mark when I first took over in that on adding items that currently weren't. So catching up on that. Those boilers over there were original to it. They're Cleaver Brooks. We've had some fire block issues on those, working to get that through. Currently, we've rebuilt on those, and we keep them cleaned and trimmed as much as possible. But currently, right now, I can't shut down the boilers. Normally, we do it springtime, we do it fall time, we do it summertime, when I can shut down one and go through detailed, clean them, and try and make the life of them last longer. Our next big project at the Justice Center will either be the boilers downstairs and switching over to energy efficient ones, similar to the ones that went in at Cushing, that over a 7 to 10 year span on the savings of gas will pay for the cost of the boilers, or the circle drive. Those are my 2 large projects for that building, sir.
Well, I'm assuming if the roof wasn't on a depreciation, then the boilers probably weren't either. And then your concrete over there is probably closer to 30 years than it is to 20.
Building was built in 1999. Yeah, so you're pushing.
So, but
Oh,
now,
it was
you
90,
said-
okay, it was a 96.
25, yeah.
Didn't get built till then.
Judicial,
Right.
yeah.
you have the boilers now on a.
I've been
Yeah,
working
you
with
call it out,
admin
yeah.
on our projects over there. Foreseeable, it will be one of those. Do we do the circle drive next to keep ourselves from a possible slip and fall or something like that, or do we do the boilers next in a total? It's one of those things that it will be a choice on which one we do, because money is always limited in areas, and so I will work with county admin on which one is a higher priority, and then work towards the following one in the next 2 to 5 year plan. If that makes sense,
Okay.
sir.
Now, when we do our budget, and you probably have this already, but could you provide us with a sort of a spreadsheet of all those things?
Cost estimates on all of them,
And-
on replacing, and then schedule on where they are.
So we can kind of get a
List of
ballpark.
deferred maintenance.
What's that?
Our big list of deferred maintenance and ballpark costs.
I'd rather have
Yes,
that
sir.
before we do the budget. Like I said, I'd
Well,
make a
it'll be
comment.
part
I'd
of
like
it.
to have
Well-
a road department
Yep.
and buildings and ground budget
Understood.
done before we even do the budget, where we know where we're going to be, and then we build the budget around it.
The 480,000 is in now, right?
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, I can see us. I wanted to put all of it back into the public works, but I could see a portion of it maybe going over there to I mean, we did reduce your budget somewhat, and I will say this again, always, we reduced the increase.
Understood, sir.
So,
But we also increased the building.
yeah,
We added a
yeah.
building.
Yeah,
That's huge.
Maintenance.
And it's a good building. I mean, it's really doing
Serving
well
us
for the
well.
county.
Yeah,
You
served us
couldn't-
well.
You couldn't have bought the ground.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't hardly do anything nowadays.
yeah. Serving us well.
Spending
It's
a
been a good
fortune.
investment. We've been able to do a lot of things with it. Hopefully, we can continue.
Yeah.
I know we have some challenges right now, but
I'm sure we could sell it to somebody and rent it back.
up 35 or we're at.
Yeah, let's.
It's been done before.
It's been done before by commissions. Sell it and rent it back.
Oh, yeah, that's the next step. Commissioners, with all the deferred maintenance, it's nearly impossible to get caught up, like it's nearly impossible to get caught up on the roads.
Exactly.
It just is. When you start out and you build a road, it costs $5 million, nobody starts setting aside money to replace that road in 70 years. I'm not familiar with any community that's ever done that. So what we're trying to do is to keep from issuing debt. So sometimes that means shuffling projects, pushing them off as far as we can, using money from one that we thought we were going to use on one project on another. But long term, my goal has always been no debt, right? So when we issue debt, we're giving money to somebody else that we could be using here.
Yep.
Exactly.
Federal government loves that debt.
All the time.
And it usually requires a mill levy increase like it did for the roof on the Justice
You
Center.
got to pay for it.
Because nobody was planning on it. We've been working on planning on some of those expenditures. We're trying to build up those reserves so that when the time comes, it doesn't come as a shock, one, that you know it's coming, and two, we're not looking at debt for all of it, if any of it. Hopefully we can finance it internally and repay ourselves over time versus paying somebody else interest over time.
And the more the public knows ahead of time about large expenditures, the more they're willing to come to the table, because the public also views their monies that they give the county as sort of an investment too.
Well, I think if you walk in this building 5 years ago compared to now, you can just see the pride and ownership. That's what I call it. The grounds look better. There's still deferred maintenance. I notice the steps every time I walk in, depending on the entrance, you can see the concrete starting to get eaten away. I don't know how old the courthouse actually is off the top of my head, but you're talking.
You remember, David?
Built in 1877.
You're pushing, 150 years here.
You weren't there though.
Commissioner Stevens, it's older than I am.
So those types of things are just things that over time, Aaron's going to address those things, and it's just something we have to deal with. But everybody does, and so I hope as people walk in and they look at those things, one, they notice how it is better than it was, but two, there's still a long ways to go.
Mr. Yoakum, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Aaron, you are.
And if this county wasn't growing, we would not be able to do this.
Yeah.
You've got to keep growing.
Yeah, I can remember, and I'm way off topic here. Sorry, Aaron. When I lived out in western Kansas, I think it was Hill City, and the roof on their courthouse needed to be replaced. And it was, I'm fairly certain, 45 mills they had to levy to replace that roof. So, because they don't have the growth, they don't have the valuation.
Right.
So, yes, we're very fortunate that we have experienced the growth in order to try to get caught up on some of the deferred maintenance that's occurred over the last 100 years.
Well, it's investment. It'll pay for itself down the road. That's why it's changed in the last 4 or 5 years. Aaron,
Well,
thank
people
you.
don't realize what a blessing it is. Every year I've been on the commission in the last 5 years, we brought in millions of dollars more from the previous year without increasing the mill levy and several times lowering it.
Yeah.
Now, the taxpayers get upset because their valuations are going up, but it is allowing. I mean, if we were going the other direction, we would.
The mill levy would be going up in their valuation, wouldn't it?
And we probably wouldn't be doing all these things.
But Mike, too, we're also leading the charge on trying to do something about that property tax. I think Leavenworth County led this and been doing it for a long time, but last 2 years I've seen us all over this. And that's why, we've got people that go to meetings. We got Commissioner Copeland and Commissioner Cause up there representing the county today. That's the reason they're absent. Mike, you've been up there. Doug's been at meetings. We've all done things. So I just think this county is going the right direction. Anyway,
And
thank you, Aaron.
I hope the legislature does something about it.
I hope so, Mike. Go ahead, Doug.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of potential litigation involving the legal interest of the county as justified by KSA 754319B2 for consultation with the legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the board resume meeting at 10:30 or
10:30 would be appropriate, Commissioner.
Okay, that the board resume open meeting at 10:30 in the meeting room on of the board. Present in the executive meeting will be Commissioner Doug Smith, Mike Stevens, Senior County Counselor Dave Van Perrys, and County Administrator Mark Lawfrey, and others that may be called by the board.
Second.
Motion is second. I'll start roll call. Aye.
Aye.
We are.
Let the record show the board has returned to regular session at 10:30. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to the legal interest of the county.
Right. Thank you, Doug. Moving on, we'll be talking about presentation discussion items. I'll start with the first one. Reminder that a lot of us will be attending the LCDC annual banquet this Friday at 11:30 at Riverfront. I've already mentioned my Commissioner Culberson and Commissioner Cos not here. They're in Topeka representing us. We appreciate that. And I also want to thank all the county employees that had to work in the last couple of weeks out in this weather, whether it's Public Works, EMS, Sheriff, or HR, anybody. This has been some terrible weather, so I appreciate you keeping the county government moving and taking care of the folks out there in the county. Mr. Smith?
No, I don't have anything. Cold weather's cut all my stuff.
Mike?
Well, we testified last week for the LAVTR, but it turned into a pretty good discussion about property taxes.
I read that, yeah.
And, I think maybe our legislator, we get it because we're the local government.
Yeah.
We get it, but I think maybe people are starting to, in the legislature, starting to understand this is a big issue. And
I think your comment about the Titanic, kind of, that, to me, that's the best message in the world.
Yeah. I had a meeting at the library on the 11th. It was really cold, but we had a good turnout. And property taxes was the second largest issue. But the biggest issue was not an issue I have any say on, but it was the open borders in the south of the country, the illegals that are being allowed to overrun our country.
Yep.
And I wondered if we might want to send a letter to our congressional representatives that we're concerned that they need to take action on this.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why not put it in document form. I think we're all pretty strong on it.
Our two senators and our
I think,
representative.
yeah.
Do you mind preparing that, Mark?
And then putting it in writing.
But it's really a big deal. I mean, you think about it.
I think it is.
It's terrible,
For our
Mike.
country.
It's terrible.
Invade your country.
Yeah.
And Mark, I was wanting to. We're having a rose dinner to honor the anniversary of Roe versus Wade on Monday. Raise money for the Sparrow Clinic and other pro-life groups. And I'm inviting all the commissioners, so I don't know who could come. I know Commissioner Culberson's coming, I believe. But could we put it on the agenda so that as many can attend as want to? Then maybe you can address Representative Johnson's bill. What's the status of that?
Well, he submitted it Friday, I think, for committee, so it doesn't have a date yet. There were some things in there that.
This is for the fire. This is for
competitive bidding for water districts.
Yeah, but it basically just the way the bill read, it said anything over $25,000. The piece got left out about the just being the state-funded road projects or stuff like that. But I talked to him about that, and he said he could make amendments during the committee on that. Leaves it open for compromise. So.
Well, I think it's real important. I mean, we deal with this all the time.
Well, it seems like we do, and I for one don't care what they do on their own projects, but when it comes with tax dollars going toward road projects, it needs to be in the competitive bid process
Because it affects the taxpayers.
It does affect that, and I think, and I'm just speaking for myself, I think it should affect what projects we do in the future if there's going to be some water lines like that in conflict.
The last thing I have is January 24th is going to be Local Government Day in Topeka.
I'm going.
So I'm going to go too. You might want to
So
go.
we'll have to have a quick meeting that day so we can get to Topeka.
That's right. That's why it always runs on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, we can go after the meeting as long as it goes fast.
Yeah.
And as long as we don't.
Yeah, we'll get it because there's two different locations.
Yep. Okay, is that it?
That's all I had.
I did just
Mark, go
want
ahead.
to touch base on one thing, and that, the commissioners who went last week and spoke about the LAVTR, and we have two commissioners up there this week talking about House Bill 2036, exempting certain veterans from paying property taxes. Actions speak louder than words. So our local representatives, a couple of them at least, say property tax relief is the number one most important thing on their agenda. And at the same time, they submit legislation that exempts approximately 10% of the people of Leavenworth County from paying property taxes. That puts that burden on everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a tax relief. Tax relief is tax relief for everyone, in my opinion, not tax relief for some.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do the tax relief for some and leave everybody else holding the bag, it's a tax increase on the rest of those folks. So that same legislation, just so you know, I would qualify for in 9 years. I would pay zero property tax if that legislation went through as proposed. I do not think that's smart. I don't like paying property taxes at the level that I do, but I understand the importance of paying property taxes. It's not. I don't enjoy going to the dentist, but I understand it's important that I do so. I don't enjoy paying taxes, but I understand that it's important that I do so that I can enjoy the better roads, the snow being cleared when it snows, those types of things, those services. I know that's important for me and my quality of life and for my neighbors, and I understand there's a cost to it, and I'm willing to pay my share. And I think that most of the people that they're proposing this tax break for are also willing to pay their share. I think this is a small group of people who have decided this is a good deal and a way to generate support at the polls by buying votes with a special interest tax. And I don't know any better way to say it, and I'm telling the people at home they need to watch what's going on in Topeka. Don't listen to what's being said in an email or a Facebook post or when you meet with them. Watch what they do in Topeka. When they submit legislation that some of your neighbors don't have to pay taxes, it means you pay more. And it doesn't matter if they say, oh, the state's going to reimburse you. We all know how that works. It stops. And the other 100 counties who aren't getting that relief are paying more. The other legislation that's likely to come up again is the flat tax that they talk about. Over 60% of the people in this state would receive no benefit from that flat tax, but the banking industry receives a 28% benefit from what was proposed. And the more money you make, the bigger the benefit. That's the way it works. I understand that. But it's not helping reduce taxes for the most of the people, and that's a problem. And so just telling people, pay attention to what's going on in Topeka. Look at what they're actually doing, not what they say they're doing.
And that's the same way with the LAVTR. Even on their proposal, what they want to do, they're still going to collect the money from here, and it's going to be spent on the other parts of the state.
Yeah, and
we won't be getting back our 3.6%.
It's again a manipulation of the LAVTR too, where they say, well, it's not that big of an impact to you guys. Well, if you fund it the way it was originally proposed to be funded, it is. But what they've done is have amended it now, saying we support funding it, but at a much lower rate. So it's really no big deal if you guys don't get it. Well, fund it at the fully proposed rate, and it is a big deal. It's immediate tax relief for the citizens of this county. They have $6 billion in excess funds, so let's get some of that back to the taxpayers. And I know $6 billion is high, but just saying.
And that was some of the confusion at the committee meeting, because the governor's proposal the last couple of years for LAVTR has been funding it at that lower rate. So when they did their study on how much would come back to the county, it was like much lower than Commissioner Culberson had estimated.
Well, I think they were trying to go back to like what it was back in 2000 and cap it there instead of what it would be today. So again, it's watch what they actually are doing in Topeka versus what they say is important to them. So when these guys are running around the state having their little town hall meeting saying property tax relief is our number one most important thing, then watch the legislation that's actually being proposed or coming out. I think Commissioner Stephen or maybe Commissioner Smith, you had a packet last week that was, or maybe it's Commissioner Culbertson, had like 30 pages of properties that of exemptions from property tax for special groups. Last year
they didn't have them all.
They submitted legislation last year that would have exempted even more commercial property from taxation, which puts it back onto residential, which really increases because commercial not only has a higher value typically because it's a commercial building, but also is taxed at a higher rate. So when you exempt an exercise facility from taxation, which they tried to do last year, that's double the amount of the impact on residential. Just ridiculous, some of the things that are coming out, and people need to watch what's happening in Topeka. Look at the bills that are being proposed. Question your representatives.
And we support veterans relief.
Absolutely.
The bill that was approved last year and was in Senate Bill 8 had veterans relief funded by the Homestead Act, and it had income limits and property value limits.
Yes.
So that was something we all support. But we do not support undermining the ability of the county to fund roads, bridges, infrastructure.
Schools.
It's a problem. But I will say on the flat tax, depends how you write it. In principle, I do support the flat tax. But if you write it properly, the people at the lower end of the scale won't pay any tax till they get to a certain amount. And then it all depends how you write it.
I think my biggest concern on that one is that you bring in a group like banking and exempt them. You give them, you're talking about for most people you might see a $100 change, and you're given a 28% reduction for banking.
Well, if it's truly flat, it's going to be.
Where does that come in? The flat tax on income for us, whatever, but how does that come in at a 28%? They just insert that into the bill somewhere, and I question.
They have the highest paid lobbyists.
One thing too. I have an interview with the Livermore Times today on some stuff. One of the things I was going to bring up though was, when our legislators come out and vote, I think there should be more emphasis on putting that on the page. I think it should show very clearly how the people, our representatives in the county, voted, not just to go down it. If this representative voted this way, it should be clear so people can see it. Because right now I've seen people say, well, I support this, Mike, but then I look down the line and I say, well, you're with a group, that organization that doesn't have your name on it, but you're putting out stuff that's just the opposite. But yet you're not using your name now because you want to say, I do it, or you're taking a picture saying I support it.
Vote one way one time and vote against it the next.
Or they say, well, I can't do it because the leadership. I'm sorry, folks, we got to change that. You're not supposed to be elected forever. Do what's right up there. And these things that we've mentioned, y'all have mentioned around here, are what the state needs. But we'll see how that flies.
Well, but the original, when we're back to the LABTR, the original law didn't have a cap on it. It had 79. 2959 KSA 79 2959 3.6%. It's supposed to come back. Nobody's talking about the original law. We're talking about
they're
amendments to the law
and funding it less than at full.
If they just go back to Jeff's numbers were accurate on the original law that's on the books right now.
Right.
And when you have $4 billion surplus,
I think it's more than that.
Even funding that fully is less than $200 million.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
From what I understand, that's the statistics.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Nope.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second. I'll call. Aye.
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 We are adjourned.